for this? I hope so. I hope so. I hope you're ready for this. So, welcome to the Rebirth Sessions. This is a day of stillness and peace. And on the other hand, a lot seems to be happening, which is really great. Why not? And I don't know how that is for you today, but it is for me like that. It's like, wow, it's so nicely, beautifully overwhelming altogether. It's amazing. So, yeah, let's just go with that and let that happen. And yeah, maybe you have a very still day. Everything seems to stand still and not knowing what the next moment might bring. So this is like an individual experience of space and time, you could say. But the thing that brings me back, you could say, brings me back to the stillness, to the quietude of myself, is the moments that I just stop. And it's like, oh, here we are. Ah, how great it is to be still and to deeply sink into that stillness and actually feeling some gratitude, like stirring up, suddenly inspiring you to do something or not. But it's like, yeah, great, wonderful. Like suddenly it is there and you find yourself doing something, expressing something, making contact in some kind of way. Yeah, it's amazing. It's like, in that sense, like every step along the way, you could say, becomes a miracle. It really feels like that. It's like it's a miracle. That is, it is totally included in the whole story. It's totally included. I recognize that. I start to recognize that everything, because I'm the miracle, you could say, because I'm a miracle, I see it reflected everywhere. Which is totally amazing. Totally amazing. So what do I mean by that? Well, see, nothing seems to be ordinary anymore. As everything is out of the ordinary. So out of the ordinary in human terms would be like, well, that's really different. It's out of the ordinary. And I say like, well, this is out of the ordinary. How great is that? It's like fantastic. So incredible to experience everything out of the ordinary. Nothing seems to be ordinary. There's no normalcy in it. No, it's like everything is included in my recognition of literally what shines beyond this, what is just beyond this, what you see, just beyond that, just right through it. And great, wonderful to let that just happen and not interfere in any kind of way, not standing in the way, not interfering. Like, no, let it be whatever it is. Don't be afraid to let it be what it is, because it is beautiful. It's like it's a total miracle what is occurring, and it's not any different than what is occurring here now. It's like this is truly a miracle that this is occurring. Gathering together with other miracles, you could say, gathering together with other miracles, opening our consciousness. It's like it's a great quantum experiment, you could say. Like now we enter into some kind of total uncertainty, and what comes out of that, no one knows. And this becomes like really like a total attraction, you could say, because it's like you cannot plan anything. I cannot say like, okay, well, today it's about this subject and we're going to talk about blah blah blah. It's like, no, that has nothing to do with it. So here's a moment together. It's like almost like a chemical reaction on a cosmic scale, in which we open up to something new. And the more we're open, like the more extraordinary it will be. It's like the more surprising it will be. And yeah, wonderful, great. So that's why I say everything is out of the ordinary. It's absolutely out of the ordinary. Wow, so great. And the smallest, seemingly the smallest things have just as much meaning as the so-called big things that seem to be, if you could compare it all. But you can't. It's like, no, it's all the same recognition. And the recognition really is that there's nothing outside myself. Like literally everything is reflecting my state of being. If my state of being is literally in contact, being in contact with my soul, you could say, with a direct communication, then I get that reflected. In fact, I'm shining it into this world. And if I think I'm some kind of limited idea, contracted somehow, I get that reflected and I see a world of limitation. And that continuously is up to me what I decide, how I want that to be, you could say. And of course, there's no choice to be made if you want happiness and joy and fulfillment. Then there is no choice to make, but to let this be, no matter where you seem to be going through. But that's the part that is, it's not only hard, you could say, but it's the thing actually that you as a human being don't want to do, because you don't want to be disturbed in the way that you see the things. That is your world, and that is that's your everything, you could say. That is your everything. So you don't like that to be disturbed. And in this moment together, that is in fact being disturbed, because everything will be out of the ordinary. That's why you will encounter feelings and internal shifts that are not common, that are not popular, you could say, that are not general, like, oh yeah, that's happening to everyone. No, it becomes very individual and really like tailor-made for you, exactly for you in this moment. Your incapability to express, or your, who knows what you feel, your deep fear for expressing yourself, or all these things, like you really start to recognize what you are doing, you could say, not to accept what I was sharing just a moment ago. In fact, not accepting this moment as the totality of your being, but thinking it has to do with yesterday or tomorrow, or that, you're not sure if you can do that now. All these things. So it's like, this is really the rebirth session as we play it, you could say, as we do this. Because the self-expression is an important part. But that self-expression is not a doing of your part. So it's like a fresh inspiration, where you in fact have nothing to do with. So there's the less personal involvement in it, the more free the expression will be. Great, wonderful. So it's like there's in fact a miracle being offered to you. So yeah, that's a bit what we will discover today. And we have Jesus in the Course in Miracles expressing himself to us directly from out of body, out of time, into this, whatever this is, into this frame, you could say, into this moment together in this borderland where we actually discovering the real world. And we also have the help of Joel Goldsmith, where we use certain expressions that have to do with the idea of interference, with a disturbance, you could say, or a little, discovering where you actually stand in your transformational development, you could say, or undoing, basically. He shares some expressions that are interesting to take a look at. So, and then of course we have our own expressions in, like, okay, so love is here, love is now, love is what I am. Well, the experience of that is total. It's undeniable, you could say. It's out of the ordinary. So the thing that actually then is occurring is like, all fear is past, is gone. All fear is past, it's over. So in order to let this moment be whole, and here and now, like entering into this presence, which is really like the main theme the last couple of days, weeks, whatever, it's like letting this moment be whole. This becomes an essential step in it. Recognizing love is here. So certainly I don't have to look anywhere for it. Now, I've been doing things and I discovered it wasn't love. I really thought it was love, it wasn't love. Now, you might have had a fresh experience with that. Great. Well, that's what we're going to share with one another in the non-public part. But so, yeah, this is just a little introduction. So before we do anything, we sink deeper within, always, like deeper within, in order to establish like this openness to what can come to us. The openness is then opening our consciousness to receive what is given in this moment, and yeah, you will do that. So we have a prayer for that, a miracle prayer, to come to our miracle mindedness, to come to our open consciousness in order to receive this. And so give it everything and see what happens. I'm going to share it with you. Bye. All fear is past and only love is. All fear is past because its source is gone, and all its thoughts gone with it. Love remains the only present state, whose source is here forever and forever. Can the world seem bright and clear and safe and welcoming, with all my past mistakes oppressing it and showing me distorted forms of pain? Yet in the present, love is obvious and its effects apparent. All the world shines in reflection of its holy light, and I perceive a world forgiven at last. Father, let not your holy world escape my sight today, nor let my ears be deaf to all the hymns of gratitude the world is singing underneath the sounds of fear. There is a real world which the present holds, safe from all past mistakes. And I would see only this world before my eyes today.
Seul l'amour est maintenant. Toute peur est passée. Toute peur est passée et seul l'amour l'est. Toute peur est passée parce que sa source a disparu et toutes ses pensées ont disparu avec elle. L'amour reste le seul état présent dont la source est ici pour toujours et à jamais. Le monde peut-il paraître brillant, clair, sûr et accueillant avec toutes mes erreurs passées qui l'oppressent et me montre que des formes déformées de douleur. Pourtant, dans le présent, l'amour est évident et ses effets évidents. Le monde entier brille dans le reflet de sa sainte lumière et je perçois un monde enfin pardonné. Père, ne laisse pas ton monde sacré échapper à mes yeux aujourd'hui. Je ne laisserai pas non plus mes oreilles sourdes à tous les hymnes de gratitude que le monde chante sous les bruits de la peur. Il existe un monde réel que le présent protège de toutes les erreurs passées. Et je ne verrai que ce monde sous mes yeux aujourd'hui.
Oh, it's so great. Thank you so much. It is like, okay, well, now we start, we start over. We start all over again. Like, that's so interesting. We're not going anywhere, obviously, and which it becomes a real palpable experience. We're not going anywhere. We're not, it's still right here. It's still now. It is still like, we start over again. Here's a new moment. Here's a new moment. Great. We're practicing the presence. We didn't even know we can do it like that. So it's so lovely to see this. It's like totally different. So out of the ordinary. I don't know why I get to that, the out of the ordinary kind of thing. Let me see what I got here. I want to share some expressions of Joel. So entering the now, leaving behind what love is not. Yeah, that was really the introduction of the title of this meeting and this week, you could say. Entering the now. We're practicing the presence, entering the now. But in fact, we're leaving behind what love is not, and there's the now. Leaving behind what love is not. Okay, so let's read this from The Spiritual Power of Truth, the book, and this chapter 8, Not Good or Evil. Not good nor evil. You love your neighbor as yourself in that same way through the realization of, thank you, Father. At least I know that God is individual being. God is the being of this individual, the life, the mind, the soul. That is the highest form of love. The loving of your neighbor as yourself. And it means no mental or physical interference in another life. No mental physical healing in another, unless it is sought. It's like, wow, that's interesting that he puts it right there. That is the highest form of love. No? Recognizing somebody as the life, the mind, the soul. The God being the being of this individual, whoever you meet. It's like recognizing the miracle in everyone. I'm using these terms like specifically. So that is the highest form of love, the loving. Not that there's different kinds of love. No, there's only one love, and that's the love we share with God. And the loving of your neighbor as yourself, and it means no mental or physical interference. It's like, oh, so it doesn't depend on how you think about someone. It doesn't depend if somebody's physically like in interaction with you. No, that doesn't matter at all. It has, these differences have nothing to do with love, you could say. No mental physical healing in another, unless it is sought. Like, you don't have to do that if you recognize the God being in the individual. then the healing took already place. Because, oh yeah, wait a minute, how did that work again? So the thing that is happening in recognizing that healing only needs to take place in you is in fact, that there is nothing outside of you. So if you recognize your wholeness, your love for God, what could possibly not be healed in that recognition? Since there's not different persons, nobody else is there. So recognizing that, say, my Christ being, you could say, recognizing myself for who I am, I disappear into that experience and I can distinguish anything. So that always, that's the end of the story, you could say. Like then there's no past, there's no future. No, there's a recognition of that wholeness. And when you recognize that wholeness, you recognize it in everything. Yeah, we use this in, for instance, the Course in Miracles with the idea of vision. Like spiritual vision is in fact what you try to attain here. And when you see it in one brother, when you see the loveliness, the totality in one brother, you recognize it for everyone. You recognize for everyone. So you see one thing completely in relationship with the totality of your being, like you don't distinguish between your perception and yourself. In fact, it transfers immediately to everything, to everyone. So you cannot see the mistake, you cannot see the sickness, you cannot see because you literally recognize your inner experience of your totality. Now this is not, say, imaginable. It is experiential. And that's why you don't have to try to figure out how this works, because in fact you will be brought to it. And you will be brought to it by you discovering, giving up, you could say, or discovering that you need help to perceive this right. And not that you can correct your own perception. You can't correct your own perception. No, you can ask to see beyond it. You can open up your consciousness to see beyond it. That is what you can do. But you cannot correct yourself. Because the thing that is seeing the things, so to speak, is the misidentification itself. Like it's denying the love of God itself. Now, we talked about this like a couple of days too, I think. And which is like a great thing, because in fact you didn't know that. You thought that you with some kind of motivation or some kind of extra work or some kind of amazing accomplishment, you could get to the idea of God's realization, and you can't. Because of the idea that in fact the past is over, and what do you represent with your perception and with your ideas about yourself? You represent past ideas, so they can never bring you anything. You could say they never lead you to something else. No, it's like more of the same. You circle around in it. That's why it's frustrating, and also that's why for now it can feel safe that you're still, say, circling around in your humanness. You choose that for your safety. It's not really safe, but it's for now safe enough. If there's not too much pain, I'm okay. Like this. So it's like a choice for littleness is what is being shared. God is always being life. God is always being wisdom. And the miracle is that nobody is praying for it. Nobody is asking for it. Nobody is telling God how much he needs these things. The fruit and the vegetables and the cattle and on the thousand hills. And yet in spite of that, God is attending to all of it. Yes, God is attending to all our needs without assistance or interference from any of us. Now, that is a bit where the frustration can come in, because you tell me, like, no, I don't see that. I don't think so. I'm not sure if God is really in all of it. Like, God doesn't know about this world, right? Like, no, God does not know about the world as you see it, but that's something else. So this is where we came to, like, whoops. Apparently, I'm like summarizing here. So one of the things that we came to, don't ask me when, is that there's a real world. Well, that was yesterday. There was a real world. There's a real world. So that has nothing to do with the world you see. And that makes you maybe feel very lonely for just a second, but there's no reason for that. So it's like the real world is within your say possibilities. And when you drop the ideas that you hold about your world, suddenly you start to hear, like we heard this in the meditation, suddenly you start to hear the chants of gratitude behind appearances. It might look really bad, but in fact you're looking straight through it and are opening to hear the chants of gratitude. Like everything is reminding you of home. When your mind is in that recognition, everything is telling you the same story, you could say. It's bringing you back to yourself. Oh my God, there's nothing outside of me. I'm taking this in, you could say. It's like there's no good, no evil. There's no such thing as a difference between that. No, I take it all in, you could say, and in fact allow it to be transformed for me. So actually I can perceive it the way it is. Entering that way into the real world. That has nothing to do with the buildings, with the... Yeah, it says in the Course too, it's like it has nothing to do with the buildings, with streets, with cars, with other people. No, it has to do with your recognition of the Father within, of your communication with your source, recognizing that you're an effect of that and not of anything else. So that is what Joel is describing here too. The miracle is that nobody is praying for it. Nobody is asking for it. Nobody is telling God how much he needs these things, the fruit and the vegetables and the cattle on 1,000 hills. And yet in spite of that, God is attending to all of it. Yet God is attending to all your needs without assistance or interference from any of us. Like it has literally nothing to do with the ideas that we hold about it. That's why we can, if we let go of this, start to see it. And actual healing takes place. Like you see, this is from the book The Art of Spiritual Healing, chapter 11. Is God a servant? So here we go, quickly on. Your consciousness is the all in all to you. It creates, it protects, it governs, it perpetuates your entire universe, including your body, but you enjoy the continuity and harmony of being only in proportion to your ability to take no thought, to abide in the assurance of this truth, to let consciousness operate without interference of human belief, care, worry, and so-called assistance from right thinking. If you were in the midst of want, woe, or war, this consciousness would so direct your path that there shall no evil befall thee, neither shall any plague come nigh thy dwelling. Yeah. So like, because you're literally not touched by the appearances that you projected out there, now you actually start to look through it. You literally see that God is in the field. And it doesn't need Here's the word interference, like, but you enjoy the continuity and harmony of being only in proportion to your ability to take no thought, to abide in the assurance of this truth, to let consciousness operate without interference of human belief, of human care, of human worry, or so-called assistance from right thinking. See, this is the part, in fact, that you don't like. You don't like it. You don't like it because it's like, it puts you outside of the game, it seems like. Well, that is not true, but you can feel that. It's like, yeah, but I have ideas about this, or I'm a bit worried about this. So the whole idea of worry would then be, in fact, the denial of what is really going on. Because if you really saw what is going on, there would be no reason to worry. Now, you see, this is what we roller coaster through a little bit in our transformation or in our rebirth process. Until we come to the point that you see, oh, wait a minute, I suddenly saw something. I never saw this before. Wow. There's something I don't have to do here. To let it be whole, I only have to let it be whole. I don't have to make it whole. So in fact, that takes away all the stress and all the concern and all the right thinking to make it work. It doesn't have to be made work. Like, no, what is real and what is given, what is God's, you could say, is already total. So you have nothing to add to it or take away from it. It's impossible. Only in your dreams is that where it happens. So that's why we call this an awakening experience or awakening process. Like, you start to see that you tried to perfect creation. And sorry, but there is no need for that. It's completely not necessary. If God created you perfect, you are perfect. You don't have to make yourself more perfect than perfect. Well, this sounds really simple. So that's great. Now, this is the introduction, you could say, to the next part, which is the non-public part, in which we're expressing a little bit of this, in fact, interference. I thought it was this and it isn't. I thought it was love, but it isn't. I thought it was this and it isn't. Like, well, that list becomes longer and longer. You discover all the things that you were thinking about anything or worrying about has in fact no relevance in letting truth be true. So it's great to discover that, in other words, and helpful to see it. And yeah, so that's what we're going to, in fact, share in a certain way with one another in the non-public part. So thank you so far, and see you soon.